Cool guys, today, digitizing your knowledge so you can transition from one-on-one to one-to-many. It's a very long-winded introduction, but I've got two awesome people on this call today. I've got Job and Steve, and we're talking about this notion because, we live in a weird world, right? Everyone's getting into this digital marketing, everyone's getting into digitizing their information, and there's this sort of magic mix of getting this and turning it into a real business. So I thought rather than hypothesize, can I go online? Can I run my business as an information product? I talk to people who are actually in the trenches doing it. So welcome to the call, Steve and Job. Got your names right and everything. This is awesome.
Hey, man.
Thanks for having me, mate.
So let's get a bit of an introduction. I don't know. Let's start with you, Steve. You're bouncing around like you've had about 10 coffees this morning.
Yeah, I got my caffeinated beverages ready to rock and roll. But yeah, my name's Steve. I digitize knowledge. That's my actual job. That's what my agency does. We specialize in creating. We're professional course creators, if you like. We love just grabbing knowledge from smart people's skulls, extracting it, and then helping them commercialize it or help them give it away to teach the world or their clients. It's a super fun and super privileged position to be in.
Yeah, awesome. And Job, a bit about you.
Social media consultant. So we are past agency owners. We've run ads in the past. We've also done social media management as an agency as well. But our bread and butter is working with clients, and now we actually help people set up all the systems so that they can have it in-house rather than outsource that sort of work.
Yeah, super good and super interesting because two areas that are really black boxes to a lot of people who run businesses. And I really wanted to tap into the Brains Trust today because, this whole idea of people creating a business that runs out of a computer, which means they can sit on a beach while the money just pours into their bank account, has been around for a long time. But I think reality is that the technology, as awesome as it is, still needs a bit of business acumen and a bit of human touch behind it. And I think when we talk about two elements, and Steve really talking about getting people's stuff out of their head into a process or a system that people can consume, that's one piece of the puzzle, right? Makes it a deliverable, tangible product that's got some value in it. And the second part is how do you knock on people's doors in a world where we're just getting inundated with marketing messages left, right, and center. So a couple of problems that I'd like to discuss during today's call and really sort of help people get an understanding of how do I navigate this world of going online and digitizing my knowledge. Steve, tell us about the big things that are going on.
You've really sort of nailed it, right? So technology exists and it's fantastic, but it's like just because technology exists, it doesn't give you the permission to use it, nor should you just dive straight in. We see so many people dive in and then create like this absolute like cyclone of doom from, they've got like 16 different pieces of tech and they've stitched them together with a piece of string, and then one piece of string breaks, their whole business disappears. So, we've got that. The challenge that you've got though is you've got like three very key define.
Talk about internet breakdowns.
The suspense.
Yeah. So well, hopefully he'll tune back in with the answer to the three key. But while we're waiting on Steve to re-engage, Joe, give us your slant on this, right? Because we know that we're in this funny age and situation where, this internet marketing has just taken on a whole life of its own. And everyone's out there trying to get their ads to work and trying to sell a product online. What's your view? What's your experience with this?
Look, there's a lot going on, and it's a very fast-moving space. There's always the latest thing that's working. I feel like it was Facebook groups not that long ago. Right now it's TikTok, and we've got him back.
We'll finish your thought before we go back to Steve because he's left us hanging on the edge.
Yeah. There's always heaps of stuff out there. It's just how to use them effectively, so that it isn't just a glorified billboard of hey, come buy from me, 50% off as like the main marketing strategy. I think a lot of people turn to. It's kind of forced us to be a lot better because you are competing with a lot more people now. So you've got to make it entertaining. You've got to reach people how they want to be reached and talk about your stuff in the way that people want to see it, So I think all in all, it's really just forced people to be better marketers.
Yeah, it is interesting
and use it
because
all.
I think you're right. We're past that age where people like to see ads that say "buy my stuff," right? They actually want to be almost engaged with, understood, resonate, see that you're the kind of guy they want to hang around, have a beer with, and then at some point in time that should lead to, hey, you want to buy my stuff. But I think people are impatient, aren't they? And they just say, nah, bugger it. I just want to sell stuff, put money on the table, get Facebook to sell my stuff for me. And just before you got here, Joe, I was talking to Steve about this, and he said, this whole idea of paid advertising, it can be just a vacuum cleaner that is inserted into your bank account if it's not done right. And both Facebook and Google and any other paid advertising channel will happily take your money and not necessarily give you the results you're after. Steve, you're back. So we got hung right at the point where you said there's 3 key things. Do you remember what they are?
Give it up for the people, right? We've got to give the people something to hang in for. So yeah, there's 3 key distinct parts to the stool of digitizing your knowledge. There's tech, there's business, and then there's marketing, right?
Yep.
So you come at it from those 3 areas, which is what we're doing. And obviously, if one of the legs of the stool doesn't exist, it's over. You don't have a stool. So we see too many clients come in and they go, yeah, I've got a course. I want to make $3,000 from it. And it's like, first of all, we then go, well, what's the purpose of the course? What are you going to deliver to your clients? They don't know the answer to that.
Yep.
Why did you pick $1,000? What's the business logic of that? Do you know your numbers that back us all the way out to how many people need to land on your course landing page for you to be able to convert that amount? They have no idea there. And then from a tech perspective, it's like, I'm just going to pick this because Jeff from marketing told me to pick it, and it's got nothing to do with whether it's good enough for them or not. The other thing is obviously like shiny object syndrome and the case of the two different clients. We have Jeff and we have Sam, and Jeff has no following, no willingness to do organic marketing, doesn't care about personal brand, and then will spend thousands of dollars a month on Facebook advertising and get 4/5 of nothing out of it. Versus Sam. Sam has spent 10 years building his list, building his personal brand, and he is rocking and rolling. He comes to us and says, I want to launch a program. We say, yeah, no worries. It's $500. It's going to teach your people this, 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 and this. He sends one email and makes 60 grand because his list all just engages with it. Boom, job done. Thanks for coming. Pick up your laptop and sit on the beach. Like it's as distinct and as stark contrast as that. So lots of things to think about for sure.
And it's interesting when you talk about the three legs of the stool, right? Because for me, like, it's a business proposition. And I remember many years ago, I was at a presentation and this guy gets up on stage and he's a Texan guy. And he said, business is really simple. You need to go and find an audience, ask them what they want, and go out, find it, and give it to them, right? And he goes, that's business, right? That's all it is, right? And here we are in this digital world where everything happens really quickly on a very small screen. And there's lots of people yelling, take my money, or take your money, and we will deliver the world to you. But the truth of the matter is the responsibility lies with that individual to say, does this make business sense? And what you touched on there is this idea of you've got asset value in your audience that you have already, whether it's online or whether it's telephone or whether it's just mates that hang around together. And you've got this intellectual property which may or may not be of value to those people. And blending these 3 elements together, which is first of all my knowledge or my product, my audience and their needs, and the commerciality of it, is the magic sort of formula that I think people miss when they give this a go and it all falls flat on its face. I mean, what are your thoughts, Joe? Tell us a bit about some of the nightmare stories out there.
Well, I was going to say, I've had people come to me before and they want way more clients, they want way more leads, and when we actually look at the commerciality of their offer, it's like they're working for like $10 an hour. And it's like, hey, I do not want to scale this up with you because you will work 80 hours a week for still nowhere near enough what you should be earning. So it's like, if that stuff isn't right beforehand, we don't want to scale up a monster. We don't want to be doing marketing on something that isn't set up right in the first place. And that's why it's so important to have the planning, like exactly what you do, David,
Yep.
before we start looking at that stuff. Because yes, it's, find an audience and ask them what they want. But, some people are too afraid to be a little bit selfish. It's not really selfish because the long-term success of the business is going, well, how's this also going to serve me? How am I setting this up to grow the business
Yes.
as well as help the clients? We can have a win-win.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a win-win. We don't have to be martyrs and try and just serve other people and live off pennies. Everyone can win
Coaches,
at the same time.
yeah, coaches and consultants are
setting up-
beautiful people, aren't they, Joe? Like I've seen some of your content this week on your in your Facebook group. You were talking about both ends of this spectrum as well, like giving stuff away for too cheap and not having a viable business
Yep.
versus giving something, like not giving away, but charging a fortune for something and failing to deliver. Because I think that's the other dark side of this world, is that we make the assumption when we build and digitize your knowledge, we make the assumption that you're a subject matter expert and people are paying you for your knowledge. So if you can't deliver and you're then going to charge $5,000 a month for, a high ticket offer, you're going to torch your audience super quick. And on the flip side, if you're thinking, I'm just going to help the world, which a lot of coaches do, they're very altruistic.
Yep.
I'm going to charge them nothing, or I'm going to give my knowledge away for very little so I can have heaps of people, but I want to be high touch. That's like an oxymoron. That's like defying the laws of physics. So again, when it comes to like the structuring of this, you've got to look at the way that digitizing your knowledge can work well is helping you infinitely scale without having to add more stuff and more costs to your business. However, if you package it wrong and you don't do the planning up front, you will end up lighting yourself on fire and just like in the corner of your room, like rocking back and forth going, I have 1,000 clients to serve. I've promised them an hour a week each personal coaching. Mathematics doesn't allow you to deliver that. You're going to fail. So it's super important to get the planning right.
Yeah.
First step.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes people think profit's a dirty word. And if you think about what profit actually is, right, it's the gap between revenue and expenses. And in business, profit is the measurement or the scorecard of the effectiveness of a business. And so when we think about how we deliver our service, I mean, one of the things, and I look at this sort of from the point of view of there's always two elements to business. There's one element which is getting clients, client acquisition, and the other one service delivery, right? And the idea is that client acquisition does not exceed service delivery, because when it does, quality goes down. And the other way around, if I've got too much service delivery and not enough client acquisition, I've got an infrastructure that is it's not covering its costs. So how does a business owner match these? Now, most people in their business, they do it this way, right? It's like driving a car and you hit the accelerator to go fast and then you hit the brake to stop. So they sort of running around, trying to find clients. They get a few, they go, we're flat out. And we hear this probably about 10 times a week. We're flat out serving clients. And I go, this is bad for business. And they go, what do you mean we're flat out? And I go, that's right. So you've turned your marketing off, haven't you? Oh, we've had to. We've got no capacity for growth. And then 3 weeks later, they go, we've lost a few clients. We need to start up the marketing machine again. So we hit the accelerator again. And they're motorboating, right? They're going back and forward like yo-yos. Now, what you just described is this whole notion of planning the growth so that you're using both elements with minimum effort. Yep. So you create a service delivery mechanism that scales, and then you create a marketing system that scales, and then you marry the two together and you start getting this flow of growth with scale, which maintains that profit margin. And that's all in the planning as well.
Beautifully articulated, Dave. And obviously can anyone that's watching this either now or in the future or in, the year 3000, which area of the stool does Dave sit on? I know that.
Hopefully the seat.
But tech plays a massive part there, right? Because all the menial shit now, cursing Gary Vee, polarizes that with that, but it's just menial rubbish and garbage that you don't want to have to spend time doing. But so let's say, for example, you want to grant access, someone buys something from you, you want to grant access to a course and then automatically enroll them in something else and then send them 5 emails. If you're doing that at scale, manually, RIP, dude. I will come and write your eulogy and I will be there to celebrate your life at your funeral. But that's where tech can really be leveraged to make your life easy. So you don't have to touch that. And we love when that happens for our clients. But you still have to plan that stuff. You still have to know this is how much I'm going to charge. This is what I want them to have access to. This is where I want them to go. And if you get that wrong or you undercook it, you're just automating for automation's sake. And then you'll have your inbox filled with support tickets saying, I don't have access to this. And then you'll spend your nights crying yourself to sleep while listening to Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, in WordPress, trying to grant user permissions to the right LearnDash account. Oh,
here's the thing, right? What you just touched on is really important because the progression of learning platforms, the progression of tech, the progression of social media, even as a channel, has moved so quickly over the past few years. And the whole COVID thing has accelerated the adoption of these platforms and the expectation people have of these platforms as well. And I think when people are navigating this idea of I should be digitizing my knowledge and I should be able to transition into this, look, the tools will exist, right? And the mechanisms exist, but making sure you tap into them in the appropriate way can be the difference between success and disaster, as Steve would explain it in his great analogy of, singing those songs in the corner. Ouch. Yeah. And it happens a lot, and we see train wrecks. I've seen people build spectacular learning centers that get zero traction, and they can't make a buck out of it because they built a better mousetrap, but no one beat a path to their door. So I think that there's an element of integration between the front end, which is the sort of connection with the audience, and the back end, which is the delivery mechanism. And it has to be synchronized. It has to have some level of fluidness between it to actually allow you to track what your audience is after. So what are your thoughts on this, the integration?
Well, I think that a lot of people, when they're creating an offer and they're looking at what they're going to deliver, a lot of it, particularly in the beginning, is very dependent on their time. And any value that they look at adding into their offer is always around adding in more time. So it's again, that balance of marketing and integrating the tech and having a good plan before you start as well is we don't want to scale up bad things that you can't deliver on because you're only looking at value in this idea of trading time for money.
Yeah.
That there are things that you can optimize. Let's just look at a course, for example. It's your module 1 can walk through it, an idea with someone in 15 minutes and that's 15 minutes that you just save explaining that same concept to however many clients you want to take on in the next year. So you want to take on 100 clients, 1,500 minutes that you're going to save just there in that one module. That's one thing that's not even automation on the back end. That's purely the added value that you're giving to clients. It doesn't mean you're giving them less of a service, and that's why making sure Steve makes sure that when we do set it up, that the clients are still getting the same as if they were on the call with you, and that's seamless between what it was and now using tech to fix that. But also now that's the time that you just get to put into serving your clients better, also growing the business so that you can serve clients better. So it's all that we work on building the business up in the first place, and then we can look at trying to get your time back so that we can continue to grow the business. And then we need to look at how to get some time back. It's sort of this seesaw that just keeps happening that as the business grows, there's more and more ways to use tech at the right times, and that's why I think they're so integrated, because you have to get to a certain level to get that next level of tech that goes into it. So on the planning side for you, Dave, when you're setting up with clients, there'd be an area of going, this isn't to do right now, this is probably where you want to head, but here's the priorities. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the funny part, right? I love this because there's an opportunity in the marketplace right now, and it sort of got bolstered up by this whole lockdown thing, right? Because all of a sudden online became desirable and people started to spend more time on the game. Actually, this is really cool. So this availability of this market space, the acceptance of online courses has increased. The expectation, though, is that I get exactly what I need at the time I need it, and it's progressive, and it doesn't have, holes in the strategy. So I think like the business philosophy behind it is as it was 20 years ago, right? The idea is I need to find a market. I need to find out what I can do what value can I add to that market and how I can deliver it in a streamlined and cost-effective way. So the mechanism there is the same. The channels that exist now mean we can go global from our back bedroom, right? Now, 20 years ago, if I said that to you, you'd be sitting there going, this guy's been taking too many of those funny cigarettes and having a bit of a fun time, because we're not global, we're local. You go, hang on a second, if you're online now, you are global, right? There's no two ways about it. And we all have this, right? We have inquiries from countries we've never heard of before, and we go, how do we deal with this? What currency do they use? But now it's normal, right? We don't have to think too hard about it. So the window is there, it's open. And the people who have intellectual property knowledge that is of value, true value, not just they think they're smart, but is of value to a marketplace, can now connect the dots. And the connecting of the dots means finding where those people are in concentration. And I could have had this conversation 20 years ago, but it would have been through the local paper. But now we're using the internet. And the other part is to make sure you can deliver that service to them in a cost-effective manner. And this is where the online course thing has just gone through the roof. Because I've done some awesome online courses and I've done some really bad ones, right? And the distinction is the ones that are great are the ones where there's a level of hybrid. So there's people I can reach out to. The course information aligns with the things that I need and it's applicable, okay? So that's the mechanisms of delivery. And then the other side of it is I get so much noise on the internet. Everyone's promising that they can 10x my business and do this and do that, and they want my money, and then they'll give me the secrets. And so how do I know who to trust? And I think what you talked about, Joe, this whole idea of building relationships online, getting people to know, like, and trust you, so that when they do engage with your stuff, whatever your stuff might be, that it actually delivers value to them is a critical aspect of getting them on the bus, right? So I think this is really interesting because I suppose today's it's a prequel. We've been talking about this for a little while, the three of us, and we've been sort of fascinated by how many people have got a desire to get online and do this, but really have no idea where to start, how to do it. And there's lots of these courses out there that you can pay big time to get involved with. And I think we sort of germinated this idea of running a 3-day event in a couple of weeks' time. And I don't have the link with me right now, but I'll post it into this post after we get off this call. And what we've done is we've opened the doors because we're doing a test. And the whole idea of this test is, can we run a 3-day event at no cost, and that's for a limited time, just to see whether this is a market that's real and whether people really want to hear this stuff. Because I think, like, giving people a starting point, because there is too many moving parts for someone to make an executive decision on, I need to go this way. They need to feel out the idea. They need to quantify it and see if it's something that's real. Do you want to talk a bit about what we're going to be covering during those 3 days?
Yeah, totally. So, three amigos, right? The three pillars of the 3 pillars of excellence, the 3 legs of the stool, whatever you want to jump in there. But obviously, we got business, we've got brand and marketing and promotion, we've got digitizing your knowledge. So over 3 days, you're going to hear from the 3 of us 3 times. 3 times 3, 9, mathematics, the key to everything. And in those topics, we're basically, or over those 3 days, we're going to basically take you from how you would kick this off, all the way through to what tech you could think about, all the way through to what sort of ways you can go about structuring those offers and having those amazing conversations with your potential clients. And by the end of it, you should feel pretty comfortable. Now, obviously, there's only so much we can go through in those periods. So it's sort of like a degustation menu, right? You'll probably want to go to Macca's after your 12-course bite-sized meal and grab some nuggets for the way home. But it'll at least be a really good starting point for you to figure out, no matter where you're at in the digitizing of your knowledge race, as to whether or not you want to know more about a particular topic, whether or not you've got gaps or chinks in your armor, or whether you're a complete noob and you've got no idea and you need someone to hold your hand all the way through the process. I think it's going to help, just sharpen your attention and figure out where you need to focus on.
Yeah, fantastic. And so about the parts you're going to be covering, Joe?
Well, the parts I'm talking about are going to be positioning your offer online. Because obviously you know how you want to talk about what you help people with. How do you start to put that into the language that it turns into what they need, into what they want?
Yeah.
The next thing that we'll be looking at is actually how to set up your social media so that you can start attracting the right people, but also give them a direction of where they're meant to go. So we'll look at Instagram, Facebook, and we'll also look at LinkedIn as well. And we'll finish off by looking at how, now you know how to position your offer, now that you've got your profile set up, how to actually start generating leads from those different platforms. So we'll look at content and we'll look at messaging on the last day.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, for me, I'm a big planning person, as you guys are aware. I sort of look at business and say, you need to sort of paste this out in writing first. And this is a risk mitigation strategy for me, because a lot of people have great ideas, but when we nut it out, if we can't see dollars at the end of it, it might not be a great idea, right? So I'm going to be covering 3 things during these 3 days. The first one is the planning process. So how do you take your idea and quantify it? How do you work out whether it's going to be viable or not, number 1? Number 2 is the numbers. So what are the numbers that we should be looking at? Not just lagging indicators, because often people look at dollars and say, well, we're going to make $1 million. And I go, great, but let's go backwards and talk about leading indicators. How do we know that we're on track to $1 million before the dollars show up? So what are the other things we should be looking at? And the third piece of the puzzle is scale. And when I talk about scale, we want to avoid this motorboating scenario, right? We don't want to be out there marketing like crazy. All of a sudden we've got 1 million leads, and then we have to create the platform and it falls over and we lose the leads because they couldn't sign up. And so we've got to talk about how do we create a scalable business without spending lots and lots of money up front. So really putting all that into a plan is what I'm going to be covering over those 3 days. So I think really what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people this sort of evaluation, right, where they can sort of sit there and think through, I have an idea, I want to digitize my knowledge. Can I do it? Is it viable? And what are the things I should be looking for? And I think over the 3 days, that's exactly what we're going to be delivering. It's going to be an interesting platform for people who are making that assessment. It's going to be an interesting platform for those people who have headed down this path, but it's not where they need it to be. Because I've seen too many train wrecks in this world, where people had all the great intentions, but no delivery, right? And it's usually for quite a specific reason. And if they don't identify or isolate that quickly, they're out. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if this is going to work, but I have posted into the chat a link.
Whoa.
Can you see it?
I see a chat button. This platform's so cool.
I know.
There's a chat, guest chat. Dave, there it is.
So that's the link to the registration page. So
I can see that for us. I don't think is that for everyone though?
I really don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I
If
think
not,
that's
we'll
just
just put on our
privately between
relevant channels.
If you can't see it, just make a comment in the comment box and we'll reply with it. I'm not sure how all this works. This is a brand new platform for us, but it's awesome because it allows us to talk to lots of people at a single time. And really get the message out there, because I think for us, this is sort of like, we're excited. I get excited about talking about tech. I've been in tech all my life. And when an opportunity, you can't see it here. Okay, we've got someone in Facebook that can't see it. So therefore, it just went to you guys. I'm going to work out how to do this.
We'll figure that out. But Dave, you make a really good point, and I think it's a great place to finish on, is this whole concept of perfection paralysis, which I will talk about during some of my stuff. It's never going to be the perfect time to produce content or launch a course. You're going to have all this stuff in your head that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, all this sort of stuff. And you know what? It doesn't matter. People don't care. People buy from people. People want humans. So sometimes taking imperfect action is the best way to get a rocket to Mars. And, that's how SpaceX do it. That's how we're doing it right now. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where that comment's gone, but who cares? Because the 3-day event's going to be awesome and there's going to be some cool value. And worst case, you can just message us after and we can answer any of your questions.
Exactly.
Cool.
So that's the answer, right? Is if you're interested, seek one of us out. We'll give you the link to get on there. It's going to be an amazing event, because for us it's really about seeing how much these guys really want to get out of this, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see the feedback and just see who we can help. So guys, I'm mindful of time, and I know you guys are probably starving. It's around lunchtime for most of us, and we're right on 29 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up right there. Have we lost Joe?
I've just chucked it, so just quickly, I've just chucked it into the comments there for people
awesome.
to find.
Brilliant. All right, there we go. Look at that. It's in. in Facebook anyway. So let's make sure we get it on the other platforms as well. If we can't find that link, let us know. Yell out. Love to share it with you. Love to see if we can do something together. Guys, appreciate your time. It's been awesome having a chat, and we look forward to catching up with you pretty soon.
Awesome.
Later, dudes.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.